Happy Thursday, friends. Weekend's almost here. Just got to get through today and tomorrow. Weekend's finally back. More college football. Thank God. We are getting towards the end of September. Things are getting very interesting. We're starting to see teams that are, I guess you could say, I don't know if you could say pretenders right now, um, or even contenders, because, I mean, even top ranked teams like Georgia and all that are struggling. Look what happened to Florida State this weekend. They're struggling. Alabama, that's a whole different story. But anyway, things will start working out here in the next month or so. We'll know who's really in and who really isn't. Uh, you're not seeing a repeat. I didn't realize this, but I wore this shirt last week, so I'm wearing it again this week. Oh well. I don't know why. The way they've been playing, I should never wear this shirt again. But hey, what are you gonna do? All right, so we're gonna do our week 3 quick review of what we saw. Any surprises? In the week 4 preview, what's coming up. First, we're going to get to some news. Did you see Portland State? Did you see that score? They played a team, North American, who's an NAIA member. Why they played them, I don't know. I guess they just needed a filler game. Anyway, Portland State beat them 91-0. Portland State's quarterback, how you say his name? Shasheri? 3 touchdown passes, 5 different running backs ran for 7 touchdowns, total of 13 touchdowns in this game. They also had a pick 6 and a punt return for a TD. North American, against that Portland State defense, managed 26 passing yards, 49 rushing yards. I hope they got paid. I really do, because if you're going to go there and get beat down like that, you've got to come out of there with some money. So I really hope they got paid. I guess you could call it this week the hit heard around the world. Colorado State game. Colorado State defensive back Henry Blackburn and his family are receiving death threats following his controversial hit on Colorado's 2A player Travis Hunter. Law enforcement is looking into him. Blackburn and his mom's cell phone numbers made their way onto the internet before the game was even over. So did his school address and home address. Travis Hunter's expected to miss several games because of that. Deion says they forgive him. All is forgiven. Move on. And for the people out there, quit acting like morons. That's totally stupid. I agree. I mean, as much as you get pissed at your team or another team, it's just a game, man. I mean, I don't get okay, national championship game, you lose. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. Or a playoff game or whatever. Your team loses, yeah, it sucks. But what do you get out of it? I mean, besides telling people, buying a T-shirt from your local sporting wear store saying champions, you don't get a ring. You don't get a trophy. You don't get to meet up with them guys for an anniversary party 20 years later. I mean, it's a sport. Yeah, I'd be pissed too if they knocked my best guy up. I'm not going to call him up and make threats. That is just dumb. And I mean, if that's the way you feel, then don't watch sports. Go watch something else, because that is just totally, totally stupid. The guy, he ought to be suspended. Blackburn, he needs to be suspended for a while, I think. But why make death threats towards him and his family who had nothing to do with it? That's just totally stupid. I guess that's just society we live in now. Stupid. SEC suspends Florida and Tennessee players following that brawl towards the end of the game. 3 Florida players, 1 Tennessee player have been suspended. This was from a couple days ago. Could have been some more suspended. I didn't see anything. LSU safety Greg Brooks Jr., man, he underwent emergency surgery last Friday to have a brain tumor removed. That's what head coach Brian Kelly said. He said he's been having vertigo and dizziness in the offseason. Man, prayers to you, man. I hope you get better. But he's young. That's a good thing. He's young, so hopefully they got it all, and he can get on with his life. Hopefully maybe play football again. Who knows? Iowa tight end Luke Lakey. Is that how you say his name? Lakey. Likely out for the season, unfortunately. Right ankle sprain. He has surgery on it already. Kirk Ferentz says he's not sure if he will come back this year. I remember this story from last spring. Dartmouth head coach Buddy Tevens, he got in a very bad bicycle accident last March, I believe it was. I forget exactly what happened. It's been so long ago. Man, he passed away because of those injuries from that bike accident. Um, he was coach at Dartmouth, which he graduated from for 22 seasons. Also Maine, Tulane, and Stanford. I remember him at Stanford. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. Because I think at the same time, Jeff Tedford left Oregon and became the coach of California. So they had that little Stanford-Cal rivalry going. And I just remember some of the guys on the ESPN calling Stanford the Fighting Buddy Tevens. So sad. Prayers to him and his family, friends, all the former players and colleagues. That's just tragic. Really tragic. So Saturday, some of the games I watched. I actually had two going at the same time: LSU, Mississippi State, Mizzou, and Kansas State. LSU just dominated this game from the start. 41-14, they win. They clicked on both sides of the ball. Excellent play everywhere. Secondary still a little, but played a heck of a lot better than they have been. Jaden Daniels, man, 30 for 34, 361 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ran for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns also. Malik Neighbors, man, that guy's incredible. 13 catches, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had gotten hurt too. Hurt his shoulder in that game. I was like, star player. One of your star players. What's going to happen? Guy came back in. Came back, finished the game, and had that great performance there. LSU outgained Bulldogs 310 yards to 79 yards in the first half. Crazy. Led 24-7 at halftime. LSU defense, right on the money, had 4 sacks. Pretty much handled Mississippi State's O-line in that game. Will Rogers for Mississippi State, probably one of the worst games I've seen him play. He was 11 for 28, 103 yards. Marks, he was their leading rusher with 75 yards. Not a good day for the Bulldogs. Thomas, the leading receiver, 52 yards for Mississippi State. LSU, 530 total yards. Mississippi State, 201 yards. And just like all the LSU fans in the world, after that game, we were like, where was that team in the Florida State game? That's why I always think everybody should have first game should have an opponent lesser nature because you don't have a preseason. Get the mistakes cleaned up, work some things out before you really start getting into it. But give them credit, though. LSU starts off strong. That's FSU 2 years in a row. They've played other top teams 2 years, or first game of the season. So you just wonder how it would be if there would have been a cream puff, as they call it. So that one had that one on the TV, on the iPad. I had Missouri and Kansas State. Great game. Missouri offense looked great. I haven't seen Missouri play offense that good in a long time. They win 30-27 on that 61-yard field goal as time expired, which is pretty incredible. But both teams played great on both sides of the ball. Offense the defense on both Missouri and Kansas State. They made the plays when they needed to make them on offense and defense. Very, very good. Big offensive plays and gains for both of them, though, when they needed it. Big-time defensive stands, like we said. Great. It was overall a great game, I thought. Brady Cook from Missouri, 23 for 35, 356 yards, 2 touchdowns. Burden the third, 7 catches, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brady Cook was actually booed at introductions at the beginning of the game when he came out. But he actually played the second half with a sprained knee, too. I bet they love him now, don't they? Booed him, and, oh, good, you got a sprained knee, and I bet they love him. I bet he's a big man on campus this week. Harrison Mevis, he kicked that 61-yard field goal as time expired. Actually, a flag was... They didn't know if it was a flag that was thrown after the kick or if it... Well, first you had a penalty. There was, I want to say, was a 57-yarder field goal, and then they had a penalty. It backed up to 61, kicked it and made it. But after the 61-yarder, piece of yellow was flying across the field. So even the guys on TV were like, was that a flag or is that just something blowing across the field? Now the refs in the corner talking about it. Evidently, there's a penalty against Kansas State, and the refs decided that fans had already rushed the field, so the refs decided that Kansas or Missouri would have declined it and taken the victory. So they just said, "All right, game's over." So, yeah, pretty cool. Howard for Kansas State, 25 for 39, 270 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not a bad game. He did throw an interception, but Sennett had 5 catches for 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. Neither team really had a great rushing game going. It's all pretty much through the air. Missouri 138 rushing yards, Kansas State 74 rushing yards. Kansas State did blow a lot of chances, especially on third down, to put the game away. Lots of penalties didn't help the Wildcats either. They're one of those ones that are still getting bitten by the penalty bug. They haven't cleaned it up yet. Both teams over 400 yards in this game. Really good game. Afternoon, there really wasn't anything that stuck out to me. I did jump around, watch North Carolina that dominate Minnesota for a while. Alabama, I don't even know what to say about them. They got a quarterback problem. They even have an OC problem. Who knows? But they struggled mightily against South Florida. South Carolina, I checked in on that game a little bit. I figured that Georgia would just plummet them. No, South Carolina, great game in that first half. Led, I think, 14-3 going into halftime. Kirby Smart made adjustments. Georgia took control in the second half, and that was it. But South Carolina looked very, very good in that first half. So the evening, I had 2 games going again, of course. My wife wanted to watch TCU and U of H, which I wanted to see that too. But I have BYU and Arkansas on the iPad. What a freaking great game now. I had that one back in the summer. I said, that's going to be a good game. Sure enough, it was. That was a great game. Arkansas, they dominated the first part of the first quarter. 14-0 they were leading. Then BYU got into gear. Finally got into it. They only down by a touchdown at the half. Second half, BYU outscored Arkansas 17-7 to win that one. Slovis for BYU, 13 for 25, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. Martin had 23 rushes for 77 yards, and he rushed for 2 touchdowns also. 3 different receivers for BYU caught TD passes. Some amazing catches, too. There's a one-hander. There was a catch keeping your toe in the end zone while you were going out of bounds. Receiver was going out of bounds. That was a great catch. KJ Jefferson, Arkansas, 24 for 35, 247 yards. Touchdown, did throw an interception. Green ran for 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. Santigna, how you say his name? Santigna, 88-yard punt return for a touchdown. Really good game nonstop. Arkansas, though, that last drive, the KJ Jefferson was taking them down the field. Looked like they might get in and send the thing to overtime or win. A lot of offensive penalties. Just kept killing them on that drive. Totally crazy. Offside or false starts and I want to say offsides too. Just killed them. And then Houston, TCU beat Houston 36-13. God, Houston's got a bad run defense. People just running through them. UTSA ran through them. TCU ran through them. Ran over them all night Saturday night. It was kind of embarrassing, really. Morris for TCU, 24 for 37, 314 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception, ran for 53 yards. Bailey, 23 rushes, 126 yards, touchdown. 2 receivers for TCU had touchdown catches. For Houston, Smith was 17 for 35, 225 yards, 0 touchdowns through 2 picks. Leading rusher was Snead, 36 yards. 41 total rushing yards, though, for Houston, 41 total. Brown was the leading receiver. He had 99 yards. Golden had a 98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Didn't help. TCU defense, they were just all over the Cougars all night long. Crazy. TCU secondary was much improved in this game, I can tell you that. All right, so other interesting things we saw on Saturday. BCU gave Florida State a hell of a game. After what happened to BC this year, and as good as Florida State is, I really didn't think that was going to happen. But I kept seeing that score through the whole morning. I was like, holy crap, what is going on here? Only lost by 2 points. I mean, that's pretty damn good. Their quarterback, how do you say his name? Castellanos, 305 passing yards, a touchdown, 95 rushing yards, and a touchdown in that one. Travis for Florida State, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns. BC actually outrushed and outpassed Florida State. Florida State did have more total yards, but BC, the school record, 18 penalties in this game. A lot of them came on that last drive and totally killed the win for them. Not saying they would have won, but killed the opportunity to win. I think they're just ended on a face mask penalty or something. But hey, good job, BC, man. You almost did it. Wisconsin, after losing to Washington State, they bounced back, beat Georgia Southern 35-14. Allen, 94 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns for the Badgers. Safety, Hunter Waller for Wisconsin. He had 10 tackles, 2 interceptions, and a sack. The Wisconsin defense had 6 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 6 takeaways in this one. Wisconsin defense was on it. Ohio Bobcats beat Iowa State 10-7. Quarterback Rourke led the Bobcats in passing and rushing in this one. I don't know what to say about Iowa State. Man, this is like the second year in a row they have not been good. I like Matt Campbell, but man, this kind of stuff keeps up, and he may not be around much longer. Liberty beat Buffalo 55-27. Salter for Liberty, 344 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 66 rushing yards, and a touchdown also. Hey, Baylor. They won over Long Island. Hey, at least it's Long Island, but it's a win, 30-7. Boise State beat North Dakota 42-18. Boise State's McAllister, 6 catches, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. Penn State beat Illinois 30-13. Wake Forest had a wild battle with Old Dominion, winning by 3 points. Old Dominion was up 17-0 at the halftime on that one. Temple beat Norfolk State 41-9. Temple 2-1 now. Keep Temple in mind because we're going to talk about them here in a minute. North Carolina State beat VMI 45-7. They're up 31-0 at halftime. Notre Dame beat Central Michigan 41-17. Sam Hartman for Notre Dame, 330 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Estime, I think that's how you say his name. Anyway, he's badass. 176 rushing yards and a touchdown. Bama, like we said, majorly struggled with South Florida 17-3. Quarterback issue, maybe even an OC issue. I don't know. We'll see. App State beat East Carolina 43-28. Aguilar, 241 passing yards, 3 touchdowns for App State. North Carolina beat Minnesota 31-13. You got the good Drake May this week, 414 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Minnesota, though, Taylor, he had a good rushing day, 22 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown. McCollum for the Tar Heels, 15 catches, 165 yards, and a touchdown. Duke, look at Duke. They're not just a basketball school. 3-0 now, beat Northwestern 38-14. Leonard, 219 passing yards, 92 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns for Duke. Oklahoma beat Tulsa. I actually expected Tulsa to put up a little more of a fight than they did, but no. Sooners won 66-17. OU's Gabriel, 421 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. It was all through the air, though. Neither team really had a good rushing game. Anderson, 3 TD catches. Sooner defense, 5 interceptions in that one. Stutzman for OU, 30-yard pick 6. After sleeping through the first half, we talked about this, Georgia came awake, beat South Carolina. Oregon State, 3-0 after beating San Diego State, 26-9. Rutgers is 3-0 after beating Virginia Tech, 35-16. Iowa beat Western Michigan by 31. McNamara, 103 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Texas A&M beat Louisiana Monroe, 47-3. Tulane bounced back after losing that heartbreaker to Ole Miss. 21-3 they win. Tulane's Horton, 186 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Ohio State beat Western Kentucky by 53. McCord, 318 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Henderson had 2 rushing touchdowns. Washington State goes to 3-0 after beating Northern Colorado 64-21. Wazoo's Ward, 327 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Oregon State and Washington State, they just continue to win. Stanford and California are but everybody in the world wants Stanford and California and don't want anything to do with Oregon State or Washington State. Don't understand it, but Washington beat I don't know what you call Michigan State, confused turmoil because of the whole Mel Tucker thing, maybe. Anyway, Washington beat them 41-7. Penix Jr., 473 yards, 4 touchdowns. Remember last year when Michigan State went to Seattle to play? That was a good game until about the third quarter. This one, it was just all Washington. They got a lot of stuff going on there in East Lansing. So, Georgia State 3-0 after beating Charlotte 41-25. Georgia State's Granger 466 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Lewis had 6 catches, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. Central Florida, they're 3-0 now. They beat Villanova. James Madison 2-0. They beat Troy by 2 points. Miami of Ohio beat Cincinnati 31-24. Gabbert for Miami of Ohio, 237 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Larvadanian from Miami of Ohio, 2 catches, 96 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nebraska won 35-11 over Northern Illinois. Harburg for Nebraska, 158 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Maybe they're probably going to stick with him, I would imagine. North Texas beat La Tech 40-37. SMU beat Prairie View A&M 69-0. SMU stoned through 5 touchdown passes in that one. I knew this was going to be a tough game. I mean, I knew it. But, and sure enough, South Alabama beats Oklahoma State in Stillwater 33-7. Cowboys did not score until the fourth quarter. South Alabama's Bradley, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns. Webb, 151 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Lacey, 104 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. All 3 quarterbacks played for the Cowboys. Jaguar defense, just all over Oklahoma State. They couldn't do nothing. Controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Pretty much controlled the whole game. Jaguar defense, 4 sacks and 5 quarterback hurries. South Alabama was 10-3 last year. They're a damn good team. Oklahoma State, man, some years they are on the money and then they fall off. This year they're just kind of middle of the road, and they've really fallen off after last week. I don't know what's going to take for Oklahoma State to get over that hump. They've been trying for years now and almost came close one year several years ago, but I don't know. Auburn beat Samford 45-13. Thorne for Auburn, 282 passing yards, touchdown. Also ran for 123 and 2 touchdowns. Hell of a game for him. Florida beat Tennessee 29-16. Gators had them down 26-7 at halftime. Tennessee did outscore Florida 9-3 in the second half, though. Mertz, 166 passing yards, touchdown. Etienne, I think it's how you say it, Etienne, 172 rushing yards and a touchdown. Tennessee's Milton III, 987 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Pre-snap penalties. We see a lot of teams suffer from pre-snap penalties this year. Killed Tennessee. 5 false starts. Had to burn 2 timeouts in the second half to avoid delay of game. A lot of these teams need to get that crap cleaned up, and cleaned up like right now. Also, Tennessee offense is just kind of confused. Just kind of out there like, what do we do? They were 0-3 on 4th down. You got to at least make one of those to a chance to win. They haven't won. Tennessee haven't won in Gainesville since 2003. That's crazy. Of course, then you have the fight, melee, whatever you want to call it, closing seconds of the game. Texas Tech got their first win. They beat Charleston State 41-3. Rice is 2-1. They beat Texas Southern 59-7. JT Daniels keeps improving after that Texas game. 255 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. UNL beat Vandy. Man, Vanderbilt lost to UNLV 40-37. Swan for Vanderbilt, though, he did have a decent game. 296 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Kentucky's 3-0. They beat Akron 35-3. They have got to stop starting off slow. I mean, they really do. Kentucky's Leary, 315 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Michigan beat Bowling Green 31-6. Blake Corum, 101 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. I believe Harbaugh will be back on the sideline this week. Syracuse 3-0 beat Purdue 35-20. Syracuse's Schrader 184 passing yards, 195 rushing yards, 4 TDs. Hell of a game for that guy. Ole Miss beat Georgia Tech 48-23. Jackson Dart 251 passing yards and a touchdown. Also ran for 136 and 2 touchdowns. Excuse me. Backyard brawl. West Virginia beat Pitt 17-6. Clemson beat Florida Atlantic 48-14. Oregon beat Hawaii by 45 points. Bo Nix 247 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. New Mexico State beat New Mexico. Battle for the Land of Enchantment 22-17. Pavia for the Aggies 203 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Brady 109 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Aggies are 2-2, keeping that 2-year bowl, go to a bowl of dream alive. I mean, root for them. They got to go back to back. Sacramento State beat Stanford and their old coach. Their old coach left Sacramento State to go to Stanford. Sacramento State says, take this. They win 30-23. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to make of Stanford. Those last couple of years with David Shaw there, which wasn't David Shaw-like team, and I don't know. I don't know what to make of them. I knew this was going to be a tough game. Nobody believed me. People called me crazy. Texas and Wyoming. Texas had to score 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to beat Wyoming, 31-10. Wyoming played them tough. The game was 10-10 all the way into the fourth quarter. It's kind of crazy. Texas State beat Jackson State 77-34. Texas State's Finley, 3 touchdown passes. Louisiana beat UAB by 20 points. Took overtime for Colorado to beat Colorado State. Sanders, 348 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Harrison, 2 TD catches. Rams, Fowler Nicolosi, that's his name, Fowler Nicolosi. 367 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Threw 3 interceptions, but Horton and Brown each had over 100 yards receiving. Rams had better numbers, actually, than the Buffaloes in this game, but still came up on the short side. A lot of scuffles in this game. The bad hit we saw. I didn't watch this game because I figured Colorado State just hadn't been good in a few years. So I figured the Buffaloes were going to blow them out of the stadium. I was saying 60-0. So I didn't watch this game. I guess I should have. Oh well. Live and learn. Fresno State still on the roll. Shut out Arizona State at home, 29-0. Keene for Fresno State, 281 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Both teams had under 70 yards rushing. Kansas keeps on going. They keep on going. They moved to 3-0, beating Nevada 31-24. Arizona beat UTEP 31-10. DeLaura for Arizona, 285 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Army is 2-1 after beating UTSA. UTSA is 1-2 now. Remember those great UTSA teams the last few years? I don't think it's going to happen this year. Maryland beat Virginia 42-14. Air Force, they're now 3-0 after beating Utah State 49-21. Utah State, another one that's been good recently, 1-2 this year. Miami beat Bethune Cookman 48-7. Memphis beat Navy 28-24. The Tigers are 3-0. All right, upcoming games of interest. Tonight, 6:30 ESPN. 3-0 Georgia State versus 2-1 Coastal Carolina. Georgia State does commit more penalties than Coastal Carolina does, but they're pretty much even in all the other categories, passing, rushing, and all that. Tomorrow night, Friday, 6 p.m., FS1, 2-1 Wisconsin at Purdue. Purdue is hungry as hell for a win. This season has not gone like they thought it was going to. They're playing at home. Wisconsin proves they can't lose a game. Washington State did it. What's killing Purdue, though, I have a feeling they are 22 penalties for 210 yards so far this season. You got to get that cleaned up if you want to win some games. All right, Saturday, 11 a.m., ABC, 3-0 Florida State at 2-1 Clemson. Always a good one. Teams are pretty close. Clemson has gotten more first downs this season than Florida State has. Less penalties, too. And they're playing in Clemson, so keep an eye on that one. 11 a.m. ACC Network, 2-1 Army at 3-0 Syracuse. Army's not that bad of a team. Syracuse is pretty good, but you never know what can happen. Both of them have rushing games are pretty even. Syracuse does pass the ball better than the Army does. 11 a.m. Big Ten Network. Have you noticed how Big Ten, if you watch the Big Ten Final Drive, they changed it up. Howard, Jerry, Noah on there. Two guys are okay, but I like Howard and Jerry there late at night telling me what all happened. But I don't know. Maybe they decided to give them a break. 3-0 Rutgers at 3-0 Michigan. Now we're going to find out what Rutgers is really made of. They do have a better rushing game, but Michigan just airs it out all over the field. 11 a.m. SEC Network, 3-0 Kentucky at 2-2 Vanderbilt. Kentucky isn't a super explosive team, but they have been getting the job done. They're playing there in Nashville. Remember what happened in Vanderbilt last year? It snuck up and bit a couple teams. Maybe Kentucky could be one of them Saturday. We'll see. 11 a.m. 11 a.m. ESPN. 3-0 Auburn at 2-1 Texas A&M. Good SEC West battle. I'll probably watch something else. Being an Aggie fan, like I said, up off the jumbo train after that Miami loss. So, hey, I hope they win, but I'm sure there's other better things to watch. 11 a.m. FS1. 2-1 SMU at 2-1 TCU. Sonny Dykes' old team going up against his new team. They call it the Skillet Bowl? I guess they call it the Skillet Bowl. Rivalry game. Fort Worth and Dallas. That's always a pretty good one. 11 a.m. Fox. 3-0 Oklahoma going up to Cincinnati. Play 2-1 Cincinnati. Welcome to the Big 12, Cincinnati. You're going to find out what it's all about. 2:30 ESPN. 3-0 BYU. Out that big one at Arkansas. 3-0 Kansas. That might be a pretty good one. Kansas got the better rushing game, better passing game. They have achieved more first downs this year than BYU. We'll see. That could be a really good one. 2:30 p.m. NBC, 3-0 Maryland at 2-1 Michigan State. Put this one down because Maryland, okay, they're undefeated, but they had a little trouble with a couple teams so far this year. Pulled it out and won it. Michigan State's in turmoil right now. Will they come together to maybe get a victory? We'll see. 2:30 ABC, one everybody's talking about. I think some of the pregame shows are going to be there. 3-0 Colorado at 3-0 Oregon. Man, that's going to be a good one. Big test for Deion Sanders and the Buffs. Two great quarterbacks, though. Sanders and Nix. I mean, Austin Stadium's a hard place to play. We've all seen that over the years, so that's going to be a good one. 2:30 CBS. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one right now. 3-0 Ole Miss at 2-1 Alabama. In the past, I would have picked Alabama. But Ole Miss has always played them tough. They won several years ago, but last couple of years they played them pretty good. Came down to the fourth quarter. A couple of those games where Bama just pulled away. But like I said, Bama's got issues. Quarterback, OC, who knows. Ole Miss seems to be clicking right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Ole Miss in this game. And next Thursday, if they have lost, I'll admit it. I was wrong. But yeah, I'm going to say Ole Miss in this one. 2:30 p.m. Fox, 3-0 UCLA at 3-0 Utah. We got three damn good games going on at the same time. So you have to get the TV, the iPad, and the phone out. Because, I mean, that's just all at the same time. That's crazy. UCLA does have a better rushing and passing game than Utah does. 3 p.m. Fox Sports 1. 2-1 Oklahoma State. They 1-2 Iowa State. Both desperate for a win. Both desperate to get their pride back in that Big 12. So that might be worth watching if you're not watching the undefeated teams play. 4 p.m. ESPN Plus. 2-1 Eastern Michigan at 2-1 Jacksonville State. Even passing game, but Jacksonville State is better in the rushing game. 5:30 ESPN Plus. 3-0 Liberty at 3-1 Florida International. Liberty is better at the passing and the rushing game, but both have over 200 yards penalties, so that could be a factor in this game. 6 p.m. on Fox. Another good one, undefeated. Battle of the Pac-12 teams that nobody wants. 3-0 Oregon State at 3-0 Washington State. Oregon State's DJ, you know me, I don't try to pronounce his name anymore. 630 passing yards, 6 touchdowns this year. Ward for Washington State, 990 passing yards so far in 3 games, 9 touchdowns. Washington State does have the better rushing game in this one. So, Super Saturday is what they need to be calling this because there are a lot of good matchups. Here's another one. 6 p.m. ESPN. 2-1 Arkansas at 2-1 LSU. Battle for the Golden Boot. That's always a good one. 6 p.m. CBS Sports. 2-1 Appalachian State at 2-1 Wyoming. Under the radar teams, both of them are good. Wyoming beat Texas State or Texas Tech. Almost beat Texas. Appalachian State took North Carolina to overtime. We know about Appalachian State. That's a good under the radar game right there. Appalachian State and Wyoming. 6:30 ESPNU. 3-0 Memphis at 3-0 Missouri. Ooh, Battle of the Tigers. Actually pretty close in all their passing and rushing yards and stuff, so that might be a good one too. 6:30 Big Ten Network. Akron at Indiana. Both are 1-2. Both want to get to 500 so bad. Might be an interesting one. Here we go again. Another one. 6:30 CBS. Iowa 3-0 at Penn State. 3-0. Iowa. Only 8 penalties this year. That's crazy, huh? Only 46 first downs have been made this year, too. Penn State better in the rushing, better at the passing, total yards, plus that Penn State defense, man. Might be big trouble for Iowa. We'll see. 6:30 SEC Network. 2-1 Mississippi State at 1-2 South Carolina. Both of them are eager for a win after what happened last week. 6:30 ABC. 3-0 Texas go to Waco to meet up the 1-2 Baylor Bears. Usually a good game. Usually it is, but this year, I don't know. Last year, So, we'll see. 6:30 NBC. Here we go again. 6:30 NBC. 3-0 Ohio State at 3-0 Notre Dame. Man. Pretty much even in the passing game. Notre Dame, a little bit better in the rushing game. They do have more penalties than Ohio State this year. They've got 23 penalties for 200 yards. Crazy. 7 p.m. ACC Network. 3-0 North Carolina. They 1-2 Pitt. Pitt, they're hungry to improve. 3-0 7 p.m. FS1. 3-0 Central Florida. At 2-1 Kansas State. Can Kansas State bounce back and beat a good Central Florida team? Might be a second loss for the Wildcats. We'll see. 9:30 ESPN. 2-1 Cal at 3-0 Washington. That might be good. I expect Penix Jr. to light it up. He's got 1,332 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, and only 1 interception this year. But it might be pretty good. 11 p.m. Guess what? Hawaii has a home game versus New Mexico State. New Mexico State trying to get to that second bowl game of the year. And nobody can watch it because Hawaii's BS with their streaming thing. Hey, if you like FCS, we got a few FCS games that are interesting. Friday, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus, 1-0 Brown. They 1-0 Harvard, Battle of the Brains. Saturday, 11 a.m. ESPN Plus, 2-1 Butler at 2-1 Stetson. Noon on ESPN Plus, 2-1 Lindenwood at 2-1 Illinois State. Noon on ESPN Plus, 2-1 Stonehill at 2-1 Fordham. Noon on ESPN Plus, 2-1 Mercer at 2-1 Furman. Noon on the Flow Channel, Flow Channel, I'm not sure which it is. 2-1 Rhode Island at 2-1 Villanova. 3 p.m. ESPN Plus, 3-0 Sacramento State, who just took down Stanford. At 2-1 Idaho. Vandals having a decent year so far this year. 5 p.m. on the Flow, 2-1 New Hampshire at 2-1 Delaware. And then 7 p.m. ESPN Plus, 2-1 Montana State at 2-1 Weber State. That could be a pretty good one too. That is it. Stay busy. The weekend will get here quick. Can't wait. It's going to be a great, great Saturday. All these undefeated teams going against each other. Anyway, stay safe. Have fun. We'll see you next week.